Welcome back to my channel, everyone. 3 tips here. I'm going to pull this beaker down that had the solids from the strainer. I'm going to reach in here. I'm going to get a little bit of the solution on a piece of filter paper. I'm going to test this with stannous chloride, see if we got any precious metals in solution. I don't see any reaction at all. I've got a funnel set up here with a filter paper in it that rides up the edges of the funnel. I'm going to wet this to get a seal. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to pour our solution through the filter and try to capture these solids in this filter. Here we go. Alright, here's a look at the solids. There may be some particles of gold in here that we can capture in this filter. And then we're going to hit them hard with some aqua regia. So I'm going to pour all the solids now into the filter. This beaker had the solids that were in the strainer that would not fit through the metal strainer. And I can see particles of gold in there. So we're going to be getting some precious metals out of this group right here. See them pieces of metal? Looks like gold. Let's see if we can capture all this in our filter here. Here's the solids that I've captured in a filter. I've rinsed it out with some distilled water, and now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer those solids into a clean beaker. And what we'll do is put some aqua regia on these solids and see if we can dissolve the gold. I'm adding some hydrochloric acid to our solids in this filter, about 200 milliliters or so, up to the 200 milliliter level. I'm going to add a few drops of sulfuric acid to precipitate out any lead that may be present. Now I'm going to add some concentrated nitric acid to form aqua regia in the beaker. Let's make it about 3 milliliter doses. That's 9 milliliters of concentrated nitric acid. Just to start this off. Now we're going to cover this up, give it a swirl, and stick it up here on the heat and let this react. While we're waiting for our solids to dissolve out any gold in that beaker back there, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer this solution to a clean beaker. Now what I'm going to do is add some hydrochloric acid to see if we've got any silver in here. Let's see if we can get tuned in on this thing. Alright, I'm going to just dump some hydrochloric acid right on in. If there's any silver in here, it should precipitate out as silver chloride. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Yes, we do. We got some silver in there. Quite a bit, actually. That's maybe a ½ ounce to an ounce of silver there. Not all that much. See if we got it all precipitated out. And it looks like we do. When I add more hydrochloric acid, I don't get any further reaction. So now we've got all the silver pulled out of this solution. There's no precious metals sitting in the solution. So we'll just add the solution. Once all the silver chloride settles, add this solution to the waste treatment bucket, and we'll recover our silver chloride from the bottom of the beaker. It's been on boiling now for about 20 minutes, and I added 2 more 3 milliliter doses of nitric off camera. So I got a total of 15 in there now. Here's about 2 more. I'm going to try to add this in real slow because this solution is real hot. And we don't want to boil it over. This is coming along pretty good. I think we're going to have some gold in solution when we get done here. Gotta add that nitric real slow. Otherwise, we'll have a tendency to boil it over. Still got about 1 milliliter here in the dropper. I'm going to try to get the rest of that in now. There we go. We've got a total of 17 milliliters of nitric acid in there now. I forgot the mic again. It's been on the heat now for about 1 hour. I'm going to pull it down, start to let it cool off. I've got a piece of filter paper here. Stick it down into the solution and test it with stannous chloride. You can tell by that dark stain that I'm getting right there that we've got plenty of gold in solution. So now what I'll do is I'll just rinse down the sides of the beaker, and we'll let this set and cool down and filter it. I've showed this before, but I just wanted to include it in this video. What I do is I take one of these filter papers and then take another funnel, put it on there, and then I fold the edges up all the way around to make one of these fitted filters, and that way none of the solids get past the filter. I've got a couple ice cubes here. There was an outcry among viewers about using distilled water, so I have now started making my ice cubes with distilled water instead of tap water. We're going to install our filter into this funnel now and add some water to get it to seal up. And then what we'll do now is filter our liquid. By the way, these little ears on the funnel, this is a jacketed funnel, so you can circulate cold water through the funnel as you're filtering your liquid. That's what these little tabs are here. Hook a hose in and a hose out and run cold water through there to keep it cool. All right, let's go ahead and filter our liquid here now. Here are the solids that are left at the bottom of the beaker. What I may do here is I can see some gold, it looks like, down in the bottom still. So what we'll do is let this pull through this filter. Got everything pulled through the filter now. What I'm going to do is this is going to have some fine sediment in it. The paper will have a little bit of gold adhering to it. I'll put it in my paper storage and process it later. But for right now, what I'm going to do is add some hydrochloric acid to the rest of our solids here. There is some gold in there. I looked at it with a magnifier. And we're going to put it up here and continue hitting this with aqua regia to extract the rest of the pieces of metal that's in this beaker. As usual, a few drops of hydrochloric or sulfuric acid rather. I'm going to add a little bit more nitric to form aqua regia in our beaker here, and let this continue to cook. See if we can extract the rest of the gold out of those solids. While we wait for this to react, what I'm going to do is set up and refilter our solution that we just filtered out of those solids. It's cloudy, and so what I'm going to do is pass this liquid here, it's cloudy, through another filter. See if we can get this solution cleared up before we precipitate out our pure gold. If you notice, I did not have the filter seated correctly in there. You can see some of the holes are exposed without the filter paper on it. So what I'm going to have to do here is reset this up and refilter our solution. That's why it's staying cloudy. It won't clear up for me. I've got a new filter installed. As you can see, the paper is covering all the holes now like it should be. So we'll go ahead and run this solution back through this filter now, this fresh filter. We should be able to get this cleared up pretty good here. Alright, you can see the filter paper is properly seated now. We're going to go ahead and run it back through there one more time. Try to get the solution cleared up before we attempt to precipitate out pure gold. Here we go, one more time. While we're waiting for this to filter, what I'm going to do is add some more nitric here to our reaction in the back. I'm just going to add about another 2 milliliters of nitric acid and see if we can get the rest of this gold to go into solution. Not very much in there, but I want to get it all. Alright, this solution is looking much better now. I could have edited the mishap out of the misaligned filter paper, but I think it's best to leave those kinds of things in to show people what can happen if you're not careful or if you get in a hurry. I've got everything pulled through the filter now from the first extraction. Up here, I just added about another 100 milliliters of hydrochloric acid and 6 more milliliters of nitric acid. I looked underneath, I picked it up and looked at the bottom, and there's still a few flecks of gold remaining in the solids. So we'll just let this continue to cook now for probably about another hour. Once we get done, we'll pull it down off the heat, let it cool, and we'll pour it through this same filter that's already loaded up. Okay, we've been up here boiling now for about 45 minutes. I'm going to pull this down off the heat and let it cool down. I've got some ice here made from distilled water. We'll add this to the solution to cool it off. Dip a piece of filter paper down here, get a little on the filter paper. We're going to test it with stannous, make sure we got gold in solution. And you can see by that brown stain, you've got gold in solution. All right, while I'm waiting for this to cool off, we're going to pour this solution out of here into a clean beaker. It's cleared up okay. It's still kind of cloudy. I've got a little bit of sediment in the bottom of the flask here. I'm not going to add this. I'm going to put this in my stock pot. All right, I've got a clean flask here. Go ahead and get this set up to filter this solution now. Now let's add a filter paper. All right, now we'll filter this solution. Got all the solution pulled through the filter just about. All that's left in here is a bunch of abrasive material. I don't see any more gold in there. I think we've got everything that we're going to get as far as gold is concerned. My filter's loaded up. This is nothing but a bunch of rinse water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the filter over here on another flask and get it out of the way. Now we're going to pour this into our beaker so we can do a precipitation. Here we go. Stump out by Bonide is sodium metabisulfite. We're going to add a spoon of this now and start precipitating out our pure gold. Here goes our first spoon of sodium metabisulfite. I'm going to add one more right quick. Let's make sure we've got all the gold precipitated. Get a little of the solution on a piece of filter paper. Do a stannous test. And you can see by that test we have absolutely zero reaction. I've got a large temporary waste container. We're going to pour our solution off now into this temporary waste container. This is a waste solution. Has no precious metals in it, but we'll save it and add it to the stock pot just in case there's any traces in here. And here's our gold down at the bottom of the beaker. That is one puny looking yield there. I'm not going to make any estimates on what it might be. I'm usually off on my estimates. We'll just get this into a filter now and continue the process. Alright, I've got a small filter here. What we're going to do is try to capture the gold in this filter. Here we go. Got some hydrochloric acid here. What we're gonna do is pour it down in here and rinse this gold off a little bit with a little bit of hydrochloric acid. Rinse it with some distilled water. I'm gonna take the gold now and put it in this beaker. And what we'll do is add some hydrochloric acid. A few drops of sulfuric acid. About 3 milliliters of concentrated nitric acid. Alright, we're going to stir it up a little bit. Put it up on the heat and let this dissolve a second time. Well, that only took about a little under 10 minutes. Got everything in solution now. Pull this down off the heat and let it cool down. I've allowed the solution to cool to room temperature, ambient temperature, about 50 degrees right now. So now we're going to go ahead and filter the solution. Filter out that piece of filter paper that's disintegrated in there. Solution's a little bit on the cloudy side. Let's go ahead and pass it through the same filter a second time here and see if we can get this solution to clear up for us. Got everything pulled through the filter now. What we'll do is transfer our solution to a clean beaker and get ready for precipitation. Here we go. We're going to do the second precipitation now and get our pure gold out of this solution. It's real time. It's going to be a low quantity of gold. Low quantities of gold precipitate out very slowly. Here we go. Let's filter our gold out of this solution now. Pour it right down into the filter. Capture the gold in the filter. Here's a look at the pure gold. Let's get this down into the filter now. Here's a look at the pure gold. I'm going to rinse it with some hydrochloric acid. Here we go. I'm going to rinse with some distilled water, try to get some of that acid off of there. I'm going to take the filter out of the funnel now. Here's the gold down in the bottom of that filter. I'm going to stick it in this melt dish. Let's take it over here to the melt table now. And what we're going to do, someone suggested using alcohol to burn the filter. So that's what we're going to try to do here. They said use isopropyl alcohol. I've only got denatured alcohol, so we're going to saturate this thing with alcohol and try to burn the filter off. Let's ignite this now with a torch and just let that burn. See if this works. Not a bad idea. It worked out pretty good. As soon as that flame goes out, we'll put the torch on it and start melting the gold. Alright, I think the alcohol is pretty much all burnt up. Here we go with the MAP gas torch. I'm going to start tilting the dish to get all the tiny balls of gold that are sitting down at the bottom of the melt dish to coalesce. Alrighty, I think we got it. I've got some borax here. And I'm just going to sprinkle some borax on it while it freezes. This looks like a pretty good sized bead of pure gold here. Let's get it out of the dish before it glues in. Oh yeah, look at that thing, man. Nice. Put this down in the water here and dunk it. Okay. Here's our little bead of pure gold. It's got a little bit of flux on it. We'll get that off with some dilute sulfuric acid. Alright, let's drop our little bead down in here. Cover it with some distilled water. Put it on the heat. Alright, we're going to put a little bit of sulfuric acid in here. And that should eat away any flux that came over or stuck to the bead. Alright, we've got this solution boiling. All of the flux should be off of here now. Let's go over here and rinse it. Get all that acid rinsed off of there. Okay, before we dump it out, I'm going to plug that drain up so we don't lose it down the drain. Let's see what we got here. Oh my goodness, look at that beautiful little bead of pure gold. Nice. All right, this thing came out looking pretty good. Nice, bright, shiny bead of 24K pure gold. Let's see what the weight is here. Whoa, 3.2. 3.2 grams of pure gold from that jeweler's low-grade floor sweeps. All right, this will conclude part 3 of this series. We'll go ahead and list this on my eBay store for bids. Thanks for watching.